Assalamu alaikum guys. Today we do physics O-level past papers, 2025 paper. Let's get started. Which list contains only vector quantities? Vector quantities are the direction dependent quantities. Momentum is a vector, gravitational field strength is a vector, displacement is a vector. So all three of them are vectors, so B. Then the graph shows distance time graph. What is the description of the moving object? If you look at it carefully, the distance has stopped, right? It will become, the distance is not increasing, so the object has stopped here, and over here it was moving. It was covering a certain distance. A ball thrown vertically upward falls back to the thrower. A car starting from rest, speeding up as it moves. A rock dropped from high cliff, falling into the sea below. Or a train braking to a halt as it stops. Now, see, in displacement or distance time graph, the gradient represents velocity, and you guys can see that the velocity or the speed as time passes by is decreasing, right? Now, because the velocity of the speed is decreasing and it has eventually become zero, so option D, which is the train stopping, is making more sense, which means that the train might have a high velocity initially, and then as time passed by, it came to a complete stop. So yeah, velocity became zero. Then option question three, a speed time graph of a falling skydiver is shown. As he falls, the skydiver spreads out his arms and legs and opens the parachute. Terminal velocity is asked. Terminal velocity is the final constant velocity with which he will hit the ground after opening the parachute. So the only constant velocity throughout the graph is option D. Right? You guys can see that the speed is staying constant at option D, right? That's why D. Four, the car driver traveling at a constant speed in a straight line sees a hazard in the road up ahead at time zero. The speed time graph shows the how the speed of the car changes from 0 seconds. So this is zero. Now the speed was constant and then it became zero. So area X represents the thinking distance, stopping distance or what. So X is the thinking distance and Y is the stopping distance, okay? So X, okay, thinking distance, and Y is the stopping distance. So yeah, 1 and 2. Because X is the point where he saw the hazard, so he was thinking what to do, and then after that he applied the brake, so the car stopped right over here. And 5. The diagram shows a graph of load against extension of a material, at which point the limit of proportionality. Limit of proportionality is the point after which the graph starts losing its linear shape. This is linear up till point A. After A, it's gonna lose that shape, right? So that's why A is the limit, final maximum limit, or limit of proportionality. 6. There's a no atmosphere on the moon. Two metal spheres of identical volume but different masses are at rest at the same height above the ground on the moon. The two spheres are dropped at the same time. How do these spheres move after they are dropped? So sphere with a larger mass has a smaller acceleration. Sphere with a larger mass hits the ground first. The sphere with the smaller mass has a smaller acceleration, or they hit together. So basically, they will hit the ground together because they both are experiencing the same amount of acceleration. This is a classical example of acceleration under free fall, acceleration under gravity. Okay, and there is no atmosphere to stop any one of them. So that's option D. 7. The student determines the density of a small rock. The weight of the rock is 1.2 newtons, and she pours 100 cm cube of water into a cylinder. Now she carefully submerges the rock in the 100 cm cube, and the new reading is 147 cm cube density. So for this, what you need to do is you need to find out the volume of the rock first. 100 and 147, you need to subtract them. It's going to be 47 cm cube, the volume of the mass of the rock, and then you already have the force. Density is mass over volume. Now you can convert the force, the weight into mass. Mass is weight over g, right? Now weight is 1.2, and at your level you can take g to be 10, so it's 0.12 kg. So now density is going to become 0.12 divided by 47. Now this is in cm cube. Convert that into, you don't need to convert that into anything. We divide that by 47. Let's see if the answer is matching any of the answer options when we divide it by 47. Otherwise, we'll need to change the units. It's 0.0026. We don't have that matching any one of them. So you don't have to convert that into newtons. Let's try converting the kgs to grams. Kgs to grams is going to be 1, 2, and 3. So 120 grams divided by 47. That's 2.6. So yeah, option D. Option D is 2.6 grams per cm cube. I hope you guys understood what I did, right? So yeah, it's grams per cm cube. Now, a rock of mass 20 kg is traveling in space at a speed of 6 meters per second. What is the kinetic energy? So half mv squared, half times m is 20 and v squared is 6 squared. So 2 times 10 and then 6 are 36 and 362. 9. Which row shows an advantage and disadvantage of using nuclear fuel to generate electrical power? Advantage is it is renewable. Yeah, that is correct. It is renewable. And disadvantage produces radioactive waste. That is correct. And does not produce carbon dioxide. It is not renewable actually. It's not. It's not renewable. Once you use up the radioactive material, it doesn't regenerate that easily. So it does not produce carbon dioxide. That's correct. That's an advantage. Which one gives a definition of work and the unit of work? Unit of work is joules, and the definition is the force multiplied by distance moved in the direction of that force. Okay, work done is force times displacement in the direction of the force. 11. Weight of the nail is negligible. The hammer exerts a force Fh and a pressure Ph on the nail. The nail exerts a force Fw and a pressure Pw on the wood. How do the forces and the pressures compare? So first of all, you guys can see that the area over here is much larger than the area of the nail tip, right? So that means the area at the pressure at the nail tip is gonna be much more than the pressure on top because pressure is force over area, right? If you reduce the force, the pressure increases, but the force is gonna stay the same. Okay, so forces are the same, but the pressure at W is a lot more than the pressure at H. So A. The pressure at a point beneath the surface of a liquid varies with the depth of the point and the density of the liquid, which changes both increases the pressure beneath the liquid. This is the formula. You increase the density, you increase the depth. When you do these two changes, carry out these two changes, it will increase the pressure because you can see this is density, this is the depth. So either the density increases or the depth increases, the pressure in both the cases will increase. The diagram shows a cylinder containing air. The piston is free to move inside the cylinder and atmospheric pressure acts outside the cylinder. As the air inside the cylinder is heated, the piston moves to the right. Which quantity would decrease? The average force exerted on the piston each time that one air particle hits the piston, the average speed, the mass of the air, or the number of collisions made by air particles with the piston in 1 second. The average force, they're asking you about the average force, right? The average force doesn't change for one particle, remains almost the same. Speed doesn't change because speed depends on the temperature. It didn't tell us anything about the temperature. Mass never changes either. This also doesn't. So only the number of collisions would decrease because more particles would be over here, so it will take more time for them to reach there. 14. A fixed mass of air has a volume of 150 cm cube, pressure of 120 kilopascals. The volume is now 100 cm cube. The temperature of the air remains constant. What's the new pressure? Formula you can use is P1 V1 equals P2 V2. Just find the new pressure P2. So just multiply P1 and V1 and divide that by V2. So you can keep the volumes in cm cube. It's okay. They'll just get cancelled out. So 120 kilopascals times 150 divided by 100. And so whatever answer you get, that's going to be your answer in kilopascals. The diagram shows 4 stages. which row gives the names of the four stages. You guys can see that it's converting from solid to liquid. This melting, this is uh, vaporization or boiling. Then this is condensation, this is freezing. So freezing. Then what is stage Y? Y is melting, right? Then X is condensation, and then W is boiling. Option D. The diagram shows a metal pan on a hot plate. The pan is heated by the hot plate. What is the thermal energy transferred from the hot plate to the plate to the metal pan? How is the thermal energy transferred? Because they are in direct contact with each other, it's going to be conduction. Okay, it's conducted from one metal to another. 17. A beaker of cold water is heated at its base. What happens to the heated water? Now, what happens to the density? What happens to the movement? So movement is upwards because you guys know that conventional currents form, right? And the density would decrease. So option B makes the most sense. Density decreases because the volume expands, right? It expands. It's trying to volume slightly expands, and you know the density is mass over volume. Now, because the volume has increased, density decreases. The graph shows what is still pressure variation along a sound wave. What diagram represents a rarefaction, and what is the wavelength of the sound wave? Wavelength is and rarefaction.
ठीक है, अब ये वीडियो तो चली गई, अब मैं क्या करूं?
Now, rarefaction is the point where the pressure becomes low.
फेसबुक ने भी लिमिट कर दी शेयरिंग को।
On the y-axis, you've got pressure. So pressure is high. This means this is compression, but this is
इंस्टा पे तो
where
शेयर नहीं
the
की मैंने,
pressure is
इंस्टा पे शेयर
extremely low. So this is most likely rarefaction then. Wavelength is going to be x, of course. Okay, the distance between two consecutive compressions. A cork on the surface of water moves up and down as a wave passes across the surface. The diagram shows how the height of the cork above the average level of the surface varies with time. You guys can see how the height is varying. So this means they've shown a wave pattern. The numerical value of the wavelength is equal to the numerical value of the amplitude of this wave. Now, amplitude is going to be the maximum vertical displacement, which in this case is 2 centimeters. So that's the wavelength as well, which is 2 centimeters. What's the time period? The time period is 0.5 seconds. Now you have the time period. What the wavelength? Can you get the speed? Speed equals distance over time. Distance is 2 centimeters. Divided by time is 0.5. But it's going to become 4, so 4 centimeters per second. A water wave travels from deep water to shallow water in a ripple tank. What happens to the speed and the wavelength of the wave? Frequency remains the same. Wavelength and speed, both of them will decrease. Okay, deep to shallow, wavelength and speed decreases, frequency stays the same because frequency depends on the source. The diagram shows a ray of light directed at a plane mirror. What are the angle of incidence and reflection? So for that, you need to draw a normal right over here. Angle of incidence is this one, and angle of reflection is going to be the same as the angle of incidence. So because they are equal by law of reflection, so these two options are out, either A or D. Now A is not the angle of incidence, it's this one, the angle made with the normal line. So it's 50-50, D. The ray of light in the glass is incident on the surface of an angle C. The angle C is the critical angle, which diagram what happens to the light. Now, critical angle is the angle for which the refracted ray makes 90 degrees, for which the angle of refraction is 90. And this happens only in option D. As you guys can see, it has a refracted angle of 90 degrees with the normal, right? So option D. 23, what is the magnification of the image formed? So this is a bit difficult for me to draw on the paper right now without a ruler and stuff. Let's see. Well, it's over here. It's beyond. It's inside F. So it's gonna be, for this one, the method is simple. You need to draw a line straight, and then you need to pass this line through the F. And then you need to
जितने
pass a
खाओगी
line
मैं उतने खाऊंगा।
to the bottom like this. So it's actually gonna make a virtual image. Okay, but virtual image is gonna be the point where it
जैसे
meets.
तुम्हारी
Just
मर्जी
take the
मिस्टर,
height
मैं
over
कुछ नहीं
here,
बोलूंगा।
and then you just take the ratio of these two heights. This is how you get the magnification.
तुम क्यों इतनी
Okay.
कंजूसी कर रही
So
हो?
option A is the only one that is out. You can choose between B, C, or D. One of these is the answer. It has to be a bigger image. That's why. 24. This statement about red light and violet light is correct. So basically, red light is the one where the wavelength is the highest and frequency is the lowest. Violet is where the frequency is the highest and the wavelength is the lowest. The prism deviates red light more than it deviates the violet light. No, that's not the case. Red light is the least deviant. Violet is the most deviant. Red light has a lower frequency than violet light. Well, that is true. Just saw that. That is true.
ये
Yeah. 25. Ultrasound is used to clean jewelry in a liquid. What is the another use of ultrasound? Prenatal scanning. Yeah, we have this.
एक टाइम पे एक लैपटॉप से
Ultrasound
एक
बहुत
ही चैनल
ज़्यादा.
पे
Prenatal
वीडियोस लगाते
scanning
हैं ना।
is done a lot.
तो अगर मैं दो लैपटॉप्स कनेक्ट करूँ
The
तो दो
ship is
चैनल्स निकाल
stationary on the
सकता
surface of a seabed, sends pulses
हूँ। वो
sound
जो
vertically downwards
गोल्डन वाला
towards the
पड़ा हुआ है
seabed. Each pulse that reflects
तो वो
from the
मैं पड़ा हुआ है तो बस
seabed is
चार्जर पे
received
कनेक्ट
one
करके
second
लगाओ।
after it is sent out. A whale swims under the
वो क्या
boat
कहते
and a
हो?
pulse is received 0.6 seconds after it is sent. The speed of
साइड में
sound in seawater is 1500. What is the distance of the whale above the seabed?
और कभी कभार फेसबुक पे भी लाइव जाना चाहिए, यूट्यूब पर रोकने।
Seabed, okay?
मैंने
Seabed
कभी
means
लाइव
the
किया हुआ है,
ground
देख
inside
क्यों
the
नहीं रहा है?
sea. For example, this is where the whale is present. It's a big
अकेले मैं ही
whale.
देख रहा हूँ।
Okay? And then let's say this was where the boat was present. They're asking you this distance. They're not asking you the distance from the boat to the whale. Asking you this distance. For that,
तो
what
जिस
you
पे
need to
आपने
do is you
लाइव
need to
मोबाइल
calculate the
से कर
total
सकते
distance. You need to
हैं।
calculate this distance and subtract the two. So it's received 1 second after it is sent, right? So it's gonna be sent down and then it's gonna come back. So a total of 2s is gonna be measured. Okay, s is the height, and let's say this is h. So the sound wave, as it is sent, it's gonna travel a distance down, and then it's gonna travel a distance up. It's gonna travel a total distance of 2s, right? And the time it takes is 1 second. So time is 1 second. The distance is 2s, and the speed is 1500. So 2s equals um, wait. Distance equals speed multiplied by time, 1500 times 1, and so s is 750 meters.
अरे
You got
इंस्टाग्राम पे
the
मैं वैसे
total
ही
height,
क्लेम
which is
लड़ने से
750
करूँगा।
meters. Next, you need to calculate the height of the whale. For that as well, you need to do the same. 2h equals 1500 times
क्या बोलूँ,
h
मुझे बता दो कुछ।
times how
इससे
much?
कोई बच्चों का
0.6
सबसे
seconds,
बड़ा
right?
पेन पॉइंट क्या हो सकता है?
Distance equals speed
iPad वालों का।
multiplied by time. So
हाँ,
just get the
iPad के
h now.
डिवाइसेस को, वही तो
1500
बोल
times
रहा था।
0.6
तेरा
divided by
टेम्परेचर जब
2.
भी रीड वो बूढ़ी
So
बूढ़ी बूढ़ी
0.3
बूढ़ी
times 1500. This is going to become 150 times 3 basically, which is 450. So 450, 750 minus 450 is 300.
35 व्यूअर्स एक्टिव है।
Okay. So this was
अभी इनकी
750,
तरह
this
बातें
is
करने लग गया हूँ।
350, 450, sorry.
मैं उन्हें तुम्हारी तरह बातें
Distance
करने
is
लग गया हूँ।
400,
सोचो मैं
400
लाइव में ये
meters,
बातें करने लग
300
गया।
meters.
टाइटल क्या डालें? लाइफ एडवाइस
Okay, 27 now. Which row describes ultrasound waves?
बाय डॉक्टर शाहफाद खान।
Ultrasound means they have a frequency of more than 20,000
इनकी
hertz,
कैट एस्पिरेंट्स
and they
बाय
are sound
डॉक्टर
waves, of course, so they are longitudinal, not transverse, okay?
शाहफाद
A quantity is defined as the work done by a source in moving the work done by a source and moving unit charge around a complete circuit. What is this quantity? It's EMF basically. EMF, it's a definition of
Actual
EMF.
live video.
A student connects a circuit as shown where S switch is closed. What is the reading on the voltmeter? This reading is test asked if you close the switch. If you look at the voltmeter, what is it actually measuring? Just measuring the voltage across this one, isn't it? But across this entire thing. Let's see what we can do. The current comes out from here. It's gonna split here. Obviously, this terminal is going to be at 0 volts because it's connected to the negative terminal of the battery. We just need to figure out what's the voltage at the other terminal of the voltmeter. What's the voltage here?
ये
And
खत्म
to
हो
figure
गया
out
ना,
the voltage
तो फिर सिर्फ इस पे
here,
ये क्लिक कर देना, वो एग्जिट स्ट्रीम लिखा है ना, वो बस दबा देना फिर।
this is a tricky circuit.
अरे मतलब बैठ बैठ ये सारी चीजें नहीं दिखाना चाह रहा मैं, मेरे पास तो स्पेस
Now we know the voltage across this one and this one are equal. Both of them are at equal voltage. Hmm. Okay, guys, so for this one, because the voltmeter is connected across this 6 ohm resistor, right? It's connected across the 6 ohm resistor. So we just need to calculate the voltage of the 6 ohm resistor. That's it, nothing else. So to calculate the voltage of the 6 ohm resistor, we can get all three voltages, all three resistances basically. Now you can see these are two 6 ohm resistors. So their combined resistance is going to be 3 ohms. This one is 3 ohms as well, and this one is 6 ohms. Now to calculate the voltage across this one, we use the formula resistance of 6 ohms divided by total resistance, which is going to be 3 plus 3 plus 6, 12 multiplied by the total voltage. So that turns out to be 3 volts, and that's it. That's the answer. B. So 30. Two resistors connected in series and act as a potential divider. Assume the resistors have resistance R1 and R2, and the potential difference between them is V1 and V2, which expression is equal to V1 over V2. Okay. Now, this is a series potential divider. Current is the same. We know V is equal to IR. Now, given that current is constant, right? Current is not changing, it's staying constant. The voltage and resistance are proportional to each other. So that means V1 over V2 must equal R1 over R2 because they are directly proportional. So A. Electric current of 1.5 ampere 4 ohms. So how much energy is transferred in 1 minute? Energy equals power into time. Power is voltage into current into time, or any other formula that works. In this case, it's I squared R. We can use I squared R times T. Current is 1.5 squared times 4 times T is 1 times 60. Because minute needs to be converted to seconds. So 60 times 4 times 1.5 times 1.5 is 540. 32, a square coil is placed in a horizontal uniform magnetic field. The plane of the coil is perpendicular to the magnetic field, as you can see right here. This is the magnetic field, this is the coil. The coil is now rotated on the axis at steady rate through 180 degrees. This diagram shows the EMF induced in the coil as it rotates through 180 degrees. Now, as the coil is moving, there would be an EMF induced in the coil. Okay. Now, the time when the coil is moving, okay, EMF will only be induced during that time. Now, the moment when it is stationary, no EMF induced, because if you guys recall Faraday's law, the EMF induced in a coil is proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux, right? Or the EMF induced is proportional to the change in magnetic flux. So initially, it's going to start off from zero, not from non-zero values. Now, it's going to increase and reach a maximum, and then it's going to return back to zero once 180 is completed, because at 180 it stopped again, right? It's no longer moving. And remember, as long as it is moving, only then is the EMF induced. Once it stops moving, it doesn't induce EMF anymore, okay? Option A is correct. Three pieces of equipment made of magnetic material are shown: the core of a transformer, the needle of a compass, and iron filings used to show magnetic field pattern. What pieces of equipment act as temporary magnets when in use? So, core of transformer is a temporary magnet. Iron filings are temporary magnets. So, see. Students are asked to suggest factors that affect the speed of rotation of a DC motor. What are the suggested listed? Which suggestions are correct? Strength of the magnetic field, the current, the number of turns in the coil. Number of turns of the coil, yes. Current, yes. The strength of the, yes. All three of them are correct. There are more turns of the secondary coil than on the primary coil, so this means this is a step-up transformer. No, it's DC in both. It's not DC. It's AC in both. It's not DC. Larger current in the secondary coil, yes. No, not larger current. Larger voltage in the secondary coil. Larger voltage, not current. Changing magnetic field, yes. There is a changing magnetic field. That's why EMF is induced to the secondary coil. Electric field beta particles show the pathway. Follow this pathway. Which path does the alpha particle traveling follow? Now, for this, you need to use Fleming's left-hand rule. If you guys remember, electric field, you go, electric field is into the plane or out of the plane? They didn't tell us. But okay, they told us that the path of the beta particle is following this, right? So, if this is the beta particle, then the alpha particle has to be exactly opposite of that. Now, it can either be A, it can be B as well. Now, which one should we go with? Now, because alpha particle is a lot more heavier than the beta particle, it will deflect lesser, right? So B would make more sense, not A. Which row shows a sign of a charge on the nucleus of an atom and the sign of the charge on an electron? So sign on the charge of the nucleus is positive, okay? And on the electron is negative, so D. Isotope has a half-life of 6,000 years. How much time passes before the count rate due to the emissions from a sample of isotope decreases to 1/16th of the value? 1/16th means how many times has it become half? Became half once, became half twice, became half thrice, became half four times, right? Because four times would mean 16. So that means four half-lives have passed. 6,000 times 4, 24,000. What is the approximate time taken by by light to travel from sun to earth? Well, this is something you'll need to remember. 500 seconds. Done. There is a solar system in the asteroid belt. Between the Sun and Mercury, between the Venus and Earth, between the Mars and Jupiter, between Uranus and Neptune. Where is asteroid belt? Asteroid belt. Where are asteroids present, basically? That's what they're saying. Again, it's something you need to run between Venus and Earth. Okay, with this, the paper is completed. Inshallah, see you soon in the next lecture.